continuity of life on Earth and the maintenance of its integrity. Although our understanding of Earth organisms, its biological resources, is still imperfect, there is no doubt that abundance of biodiversity of living organisms provides many benefits and makes our world beautiful and interesting. But it is sad to know that over the years, the amount of global biodiversity has decreased mainly because of human activity. If the current trend continues, about 20% all species are expected to be lost within 30 years, while 50% or more are expected to be gone by the end of this century. Extinction refers to the loss of species, or another name, biological entity, referred as to taxon, overall of its range on Earth. Extirpation is a more local disappearance, with the taxon surviving elsewhere. Extinction represents an irretrievable loss of unique portion of biological richness of Earth, whereas it may be possible to re-establish an extirpated taxon from surviving population. Extinction have always occurred as a result of natural influence. This includes random catastrophe, as well as the longer-term effect of environmental changes, such as climate or biological factors, such as disease or predation. In modern times, however, even for the past 10,000 years or so, almost all extinction have been caused by anthropogenic influence, particularly by overharvesting and destruction of natural habitat. In fact, an enormous increase in the rate of extinction has been one of the most important consequences of human becoming dominant species on Earth. Species are now disappearing so quickly that we refer to the phenomenon as extinction crisis or biodiversity crisis. Every species is unique, a fact that gives them a great intrinsic value. This is a central tenet of biocentric worldview. Therefore, from an ethical perspective, any irretrievable loss of biodiversity is a shameful consequence of the way that people are using their power to exploit other species and the ecosystem. This is also a foolish way for humans to administer their global empowerment, because unique species are disappearing before they have investigated for the potential usefulness in the medicine or agriculture, and before we understand their importance as component of the ecosystem. Human action that result extinction can only be regarded as ecological dangerous behavior. Extinction caused by human and the main cause of threat on species. Any kind of human activities are causing species to become endangered or extinct. A species is considered endangered if because of a small population or loss of habitat, it has a high risk of becoming extirpated or extinct. Most important causes is the disruption of natural ecosystem and their conversion into habitats that are unsuitable for the original species. Deforestation has been one of the major causes for depletion of wildlife, with the increase in human population and growing needs of resources. Forests were cleared for agricultural operation, for human habitation, and for grazing their livestock. Technological advancement and human progress had a direct bearing of exploitation of natural resources. Hunting and poaching, uncontrolled hunting of wildlife for pleasure, pose a serious threat to the survival of wildlife. In India, the cheetah was hunted to extinct. The illegal trade in animal skin has been responsible for the destruction of a large number of tiger, leopards, deer, as well as birds with a beautiful plumage. Added to this is the practice of trades in exotic mammals, birds and reptiles, and use of wild animals in biomedical research. Pollution. Pollution of air, water, and soil due to the various industrial activities not only affect our health, but the health as well as of the animals also. Industrial influence, one reaching water bodies, adversely affect aquatic life. Besides of that, there are other numerous factors that affect wildlife population, which are mostly anthropogenic: introduction of exotic species, unhealthy of agricultural practice, diseases introduced by domesticated animals, salting of river, and etc. Because of this anthropogenic influence, The past several centuries have witnessed a huge increase in global rate extinction and in the number of species that are threatened with a catastrophe. Not surprising, our knowledge of recent extinct and endangered species is relatively complete for the large and conspicuous species such as vertebrate animals, especially those that live in temperate and a higher latitude countries, where most biologists also live. In fact, there have been at least 842 known extinction, including 746 animals and 96 plants. Many of these are distinct subspecies and varieties. The losses include 71 species of mammals, 135 birds, 22 reptiles, 34 amphibians, and 80 fishes. All of these extinctions were caused by human influences. Much larger numbers of species are at grave risk of suffering extinction. 1,199 species of mammals are at risk, as 1,373 birds, 927 reptiles, 1,957 amphibians, and 2,222 fishes. Unfortunately, we know much less about extinction among a less conspicuous group of organisms. This is particularly true of the enormous diversity relative to small, poorly known species that lives in a tropical ecosystem, especially in old-growth rainforests. Undoubtedly, a huge number of tropical species, particularly plants and invertebrates, have become extinct during the past several centuries, as their natural forest habitat was converted into agricultural and other land uses. We can refer to these losses as hidden extinction because so few of the lost species had been discovered and named by taxonomists. Moreover, this hidden extinction continued to occur rapidly, in fact, in an accelerating rate, because their poorly explored tropical habitats are being destroyed so quickly. Prehistoric extinction. Biodiversity loss, especially the disappearance of megafauna during the Pleistocene extinction, has been linked to the arrival of humans. The Pleistocene extinction is one of the lesser extinctions and relatively recent one. It is well known that in North America, and to some degree Eurasia, megafauna disappeared toward the end of last glaciation period. The extinction appeared to have happened in relative and restricted time period between 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. In North America, the losses were quite dramatic and includes woolly mammals, mastodon, giant beaver, giant ground sloth, saber-toothed cat, and the North America camel, to name just a few. The possibility that the rapid extinction of these large animals was caused by overhunting was first suggested in 19,000. It seems probably that overhunting was a factor in extinction of many regions of the world. In general, the timing of Pleistocene extinction correlated with the arrival of humans and not with a climate change event, which is the main competing hypothesis for the extinction. The extinction began in Australia about 40,000 to 50,000 years ago, 10,000 to 20,000 years after the arrival of humans in the area. Marsupial lion, a giant one-ton wombat, and several giant kangaroo species disappeared. In North America, the extinction of almost all of the large animals occurred 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, several thousand years after the first evidence of human in North America. All that are left are the smaller mammals such as deer, elk, moose, and cougar. Finally, on many remote oceanic islands, the extinction of many species occurred with the coincidence of human arrival. Not all of the island had the large animals, but when there were large animals, they were lost. Madagascar was colonized about 2,000 years ago. The large mammals that lived there became extinct too. Eurasia and Africa do not show this pattern, but they also did not experience a recent arrival to human. Human arrived in Eurasia hundreds of thousands to over 1 million years ago after the origin of species in Africa. It seems clear that even if climate plays a role, human hunting was an addition to the factor of extinction. Present time extinction. Human activity is probably caused Holocene mass extinction. many methods had been employed to estimate this extinction rate. The sixth or Holocene mass extinction was appeared to have begun earlier than previously believed, as mostly due to the activities of Homo sapiens. Since the beginning of Holocene period, there have been numerous recent extinctions of individual species that are recorded in human writing. One of the earlier and popular known examples of extinction in this period is the dodo bird. The dodo bird lives in the forest Mauritius, an island in the Indian Ocean, but became extinct around 1662. It was hunted by its meat by sailors as it was easy to prey because dodo, which do not evolve with human, would approach people without fear. If Earth resources are to be used by people on an ecological sustainable basis, rare and endangered species and threatened natural ecosystem must be protected. Clearly, an international program like Global Biodiversity Strategy is needed to guide the process of sustainable development. The modern predicament of extinction and the endangerment of the biodiversity is a critical element of a global environmental crisis, and its resolution is a key aspect of ecological sustainable development of the human economy. Hopefully, the increasing intensity of conservation activity worldwide will be sufficient to turn the tide so future generations will regard this ongoing action as a success story of global conservation. Any alternative result will be catastrophic and tragic. Thank you for watching, and if you like the video, please click like and subscribe. Ciao!